What is up, YouTube? It is Doc Style Gaming, our DSG, and I am back at it again with another Warframe video for you today. And today's video is going to be part 2 of my how to make Plat in Warframe video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how to make Plat via Warframe parts, weapon parts, and just any prime parts in general in the game, sets and everything. So I'm going to get straight into the video, and I'm going to start it off by saying the first thing that I said in my last video, which is key to selling anything in Warframe, is know your stuff. The last video I said know your Riven, or your weapons, so you can know the stats and everything like that that you want on your Riven. Well, in this case, know your primes, your sets, any of that, so you can know what to sell it for, know its popularity, and know its demand in the trade chat. Now that that's all out of the way, I'm going to get into the first way to making a lot of Plat in the game, and the most efficient way, honestly, probably even outside of making selling Rivens to me, is how I've made so much Plat in the game, is by Prime Day. And I mentioned Prime Day in my last video, and I'm mentioning it in this one too, because Prime Day is the best way to make Plat outside of probably selling God Roll Rivens in this game. Now, for those of you who didn't watch the last video, what Prime Day is the day that Prime Access is released. Though, in this case, Prime Day is the day it's released up into a week, sometimes even 2 weeks, depending on how popular that frame is that's getting released that has just been primed. So, first I'm going to tell you what I do before I even start selling all of my sets and how much I even make from these sets on Prime Day. So, before the primes even get released, we all know that the primes are released every 3 months. Every 3 months we get a new prime, we get new weapons, things like that. So within that 3-month period, even if you want to do it a week before the new prime comes out, farm your syndicates, farm your syndicate standing, do all your missions, max out your syndicate rep, and in all your missions, I know it's probably the most boring thing to do in Warframe, but it's super efficient, is getting your syndicate medallions. Now, when Prime Day actually happens, you'll be able to turn in all of your medallions, all your standing, everything like that into relic packs by using your reputation from your syndicates. Now, these relic packs are going to have all the brand new weapons in the game, or relics, I should say, in the game for the parts and the weapons for that prime that's being released. Now, it's not always 100% guaranteed, but from my experience, whenever I do this and I have a bunch of standing, max standing, and a bunch of medallions saved up, I tend to get at least over about 7 to 10, right around there, of each of the new relics. So, that's what you want to do first before we even get into Prime Day. So, everybody who hasn't started yet, at least try and get your syndicate pretty high. Your standing, if you can, max it out, and then just stock up on all your syndicate standing. And then when you're doing your missions, also stock up on your medallions. Now, once you get all those relics, make sure you're also farming a bunch of reactant. Now, if you don't have to use reactant, don't use reactant. If you want to, you can. But save up your reactant as well, because you'll need to make some of those relics radiant in order to get some of the new parts for the frames that have been released. Now, once you have all your parts, all your primes, everything together, now it's time to sell. And on Prime Day, a lot of people are wanting to buy the primes the very first day, sometimes within an hour of it being released, and that's how I've made so much money in Warframe. And I'll go on to show you some of them, but pretty much at this point, you can sell crazy high. Frames sell anywhere from 3 times to sometimes even 10 times what they're worth. I've seen people ask for frames the day they come out for 1,000 Plat. I've sold some myself for like 700 first day, anywhere up to about 350. So it's ridiculous how much you can sell some of these sets the very first day, only to come to find it like a week or two later they're only about 100 Plat now. But that's what you do. Now, some of the things that, like I said, I'll show you pictures of right now was very first day Mirage Prime came out. I farmed all my standing, opened all my relics, everything like that. I got really lucky. I got all the parts first try, and I sold the full set the very first day within 2 hours of Prime Access dropping for 700 Plat, which is just crazy to think, because you'll never be able to sell a Mirage Prime for that much, like, ever again. I feel like even if she got vaulted, you wouldn't be able to sell her for that much. And then another scenario was when Banshee came out. I believe that entire day I had 3 Banshee sets that I was selling for $350 a piece when she got released, even though it was the day after, because it was before I did the syndicate method. It was when I used to just farm all my relics at Heracon. So the whole first day I farmed all my relics, and then the second day I popped them all and then was selling my sets. But even a day after Prime access drops, to be able to sell frames for 350p that are unvaulted is ridiculous. And then some other cases was a week after. Like I said, it's always about 1 day to a week is the best time to sell the new Prime things as they drop from Prime access. And like Hydroid, the week after Prime access, I was still selling Hydroid from like 175. I sold sets from 150, 125. And that was me being generous because people were still asking to buy them for 200 to 250. But when I sell my Prime items, because like I said, I make a lot of my money off of Riven, so I really don't ever care to sell my Prime parts or sets for like a crazy high price. Though if somebody's asking for it, sure. But that was just me being nice with the Hydroid set, selling them for that cheap. But yeah, so Prime Day is the most efficient day of making Plat. So everybody stock up on your Syndicate medallions, your points, your standing, everything like that. Max it out if you can. Next. The other 2 ways of making Plat in this game is by knowing your sets, their popularity and demand in the trade chat, and then also your parts. But I'll get into the parts first. So we all know that in your relics, each thing has 3 different tiers of rarity. You have your bronze tier items, you have your silver tier items, and you have your gold tier items. Gold tier items are always going to be worth more than your silver and bronze, and that should dictate how much you should sell these items for. So I'm just going to get into how much these should go for, vaulted and unvaulted. Now keep in mind, this is just a roundabout price. This isn't set in stone. As I said in my last video, and I always say even in my streams, nothing in this game has a set price. It's only worth as much as what somebody is willing to pay for it. So if somebody's willing to spend 40 Plat on it, then, you know, or you could sell something and be like, hey, I want to sell this for 40 Plat, and somebody's like, nah, I'm not going to spend that much. Literally 2 seconds later, you could repost it and somebody will be like, all right, I'll buy it for 40 Plat. So just because somebody's not going to buy it for that much doesn't mean somebody won't buy it for that much. So let's talk about parts. So unvaulted items, the bronze tier, silver tier, and gold tier, they're roundabout price of what, at least for me, what I sell mine for. For bronze tier, I tend to sell my parts for 10 to 15 Plat a piece. For silver tier, I tend to sell them for 15 to 25 Plat. And then for gold tier, I tend to sell them for 35 to 50 Plat. Sometimes 40, but again, it depends on the popularity and rarity of them. So check trade chat to see if that's a more popular frame or weapon or something of that sort. Because if it is, you might be able to sell it slightly higher than what you normally would for a gold, silver, or bronze tier piece. Next, we're going to talk about some of the vaulted items. Now, the vaulted items, because the relics don't drop, and the only way to get them, unless you still have the relics, they're going to be through trade chat. Those you can sell for a lot more than typical prices of your regular parts. So bronze tier parts for vaulted items are about 15 to 25 Plat, sometimes 30. Silver tier are about 35 to 50 Plat. And then gold tier is anywhere from 50 to 100. And honestly, even sometimes up to 200 Plat. I remember back in the day, well, I don't even say back in the day because it wasn't even too long ago, but a couple months back when Ember blueprints were selling for 400 Plat, Rhino blueprints were selling for 200 to 250 Plat. And it's just, I mean, again, it depends on the rarity of the item and the popularity and the demand of the item in the trade chat. So always check trade chat before you decide to sell anything, just so you can get a roundabout price, see how popular it is. Maybe you can sell it for more than what it's actually worth. Also, another good way of gauging a decent price, and what I do sometimes, is just put I want to buy the item that you're selling. So if you have like a Ember blueprint and you put want to buy Ember blueprint, see how many people message you with an offer, do a roundabout price of it, and then subtract like 10 Plat from it, and you should be about even, because most people try to upcharge you what they're actually worth. So that's another way to gauge a decent price of a part in the game as well. So that's the second part of making plat in this game by prime parts, is by knowing the rarity and the tiers of the prime parts and what to sell the prime parts for. Now, the last part is sets. So Warframe sets, Warframe weapons, and sentinels, because there are like 3 prime sentinels in the game now. So we're going to talk about the vaulted sets and the unvaulted sets. So for me personally, like this, again, all these prices are just roundabout prices. You can really sell for whatever you want. This is just what I like to gauge my prices by. But unvaulted sets, I tend to sell for 75 to 100 plat, anywhere from that point, just because, as I've always said, people, when they buy sets in the game, it's because they're pretty much paying for convenience is what they're doing, because they don't want to spend the time to farm for the item. They're paying somebody else who has farmed for that item instead. So that's really what they're paying for. They're just paying for convenience, so they don't have to do all the work. So for me, I can't myself sell a prime frame for under 100 plat. I just don't feel like I should do that, considering most prime frames at least have 1 gold tier item. And like I said, those can go anywhere from just 50 plat alone. So me myself personally, I can't sell a unvaulted prime frame at least for under 100 plat. But I know some people, you know, may just want some quick plat, and they may sell a full set for like 50 plat, 75 plat. But me, I tend to sell my unvaulted frames from or unvaulted items. This includes weapons and sentinels and frames for 75 to 100 plat. And then vaulted items, again, those can go anywhere from 100 to 250 plat right now. Like I said, back in the day, Ember was probably the most expensive and was selling for a crazy amount. But now she's not selling for too much. So the highest I've seen recently is probably like Rhino for the most part, who's been selling for like 250. But now that he's unvaulted at the moment, I mean, his prices decreased like crazy. But though that's essentially what I would tend to sell my vaulted frames for, would be about 100 to 250, depending on the rarity and the trade chat and popularity of them. And then vaulted weapons, I tend to go a little lower, not gonna lie. I do tend to sell my vaulted weapons for around 50 to 75 plat, but I try to keep them at 75 plat, especially if they're an older vaulted item and not something that got recently vaulted. So that's essentially what I do in the game in terms of making plat. And that's probably the best thing to do, is, like I said, check trade chat, gauge your prices, know what everything is worth, and then, you know, sell however you want to. But it's always best to try and make a profit if you can. So that's all I got for you guys on this one. Like I said, Prime Day, the most efficient day to make plat. I gave you about some of the roundabout prices of what to sell your prime parts for, and then I gave you some roundabout prices of what to sell your primed sets for, both weapons, frames, and sentinels. At least me, like I said, these are just my my prices that I typically go by, and I know a lot of other people do as well. But like I said, you can kind of gauge by how I sell my stuff if you want to, or like I said, just go to trade chat and test it out yourself. Ask prices, you know, come up with a roundabout number, do what you got to do. But that's all I got for you guys on this video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. I got one more how to make plat video where I'll be talking about vaulted mods, corrupted mods, prime mods, different things like that, on how to make plat with those and how to farm them up as well. Kind of how I told you at the beginning of this video, how to farm syndicate standing. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.